Imagine dying over and over again, reliving the same day hundreds of times, watching everyone you care about get slaughtered repeatedly. Now imagine that's your only chance to save humanity. This is the story of a coward who became a hero by dying more times than anyone in history. The world is ending. An alien race called the Mimics has invaded Earth after their asteroid crashed into Europe. These creatures are unlike anything humanity has ever faced. Fast, lethal, and seemingly impossible to defeat. They've devastated the entire continent, and the human race is on the brink of extinction. Just when all hope seems lost, something miraculous happens at the Battle of Verdun. The human forces, equipped with new mechanized combat suits, achieve a stunning victory. And at the center of that victory is one soldier who becomes a legend overnight. Her name is Sergeant Rita Vertasky, and she's credited with killing hundreds of mimics single-handedly. The media calls her the Angel of Verdun. Her face is everywhere, recruiting posters, news broadcasts, propaganda films. She becomes the symbol of humanity's resistance, proof that these aliens can be beaten. The world rallies behind her, and the united human armies prepare for one massive coordinated assault to retake Europe and end the war once and for all. Among the many voices promoting this final push is Major William Cage, a slick public relations officer for the U.S. Army who's never seen a day of combat in his life. Cage wakes up on a helicopter flying toward London. It's the morning before the big invasion, and he assumes he's been summoned to meet with General Brigham, the commander of the Western Allied forces, for some routine PR consultation. Maybe the general wants help with his image, or perhaps he's thinking about a political career after the war. Cage is confident, smooth, completely in his element when dealing with cameras and spin. But General Brigham has other plans. He orders Cage to join the first wave of troops landing in France tomorrow morning to provide ground-level media coverage of the invasion. Cage is stunned. He tries to explain that he's not a combat soldier. He was just an ROTC cadet in college. He's never been trained for field operations. He has no business being in a war zone. The general doesn't care. Cage tries everything. Reasoning, pleading, even attempting to blackmail the general by threatening negative media coverage. For a moment, it seems like the general might back down. Then he gives a subtle signal to his guards. They taser Cage, and everything goes black. Cage wakes up in the afternoon, lying on a pile of duffel bags at Heathrow Airport, which has been converted into a massive military staging area. A sergeant shoves boots into his hands and calls him maggot. Another sergeant named Farrell takes over, and Cage quickly learns what happened. General Brigham sent orders claiming Cage tried to desert. He's been stripped of his rank, demoted from major to private, and assigned to a combat unit called J Squad. J Squad is a collection of misfits and oddballs. When Cage is introduced to them, Farrell catches them gambling with cards. As punishment, Farrell makes them eat the cards, then orders them to get Cage ready for deployment tomorrow. Cage is completely out of his depth, terrified, and has no idea how to survive what's coming. The next morning arrives. It's invasion day. Cage is fitted into one of the mechanized combat suits, a massive exoskeleton that amplifies strength and firepower. The members of J Squad don't even bother teaching him how to take his weapon off safety mode. The troop carriers launch, flying toward the French coast. Cage is trembling with fear, clutching his weapon. Then, just as they're about to drop onto the beach, the back of their aircraft explodes. They fall from the sky, crashing onto the beach far too early. What happens next is pure carnage. The invasion was supposed to be a surprise attack, but the mimics are completely prepared. It's an ambush. They're everywhere, tearing through the human soldiers like they're made of paper. Cage watches Sergeant Vertasky land on the beach, fighting with incredible skill, but even she's killed within minutes. The members of J Squad are slaughtered one by one. Cage is in shock, frozen with terror, about to die. A massive blue mimic, larger than the orange ones killing everyone else, lunges at him. In pure desperation, Cage grabs a claymore mine and detonates it. The blast kills both him and the blue mimic. As Cage dies, the mimic's blood splashes onto his face, seeping into his skin. Then Cage wakes up on the pile of duffel bags. It's afternoon. The same sergeant calls him maggot. Sergeant Farrell takes him to J Squad. Everything is exactly the same as before. Cage is confused, disoriented, convinced he's having some kind of breakdown. But when the invasion happens again the next morning, he dies again. And then he wakes up on the duffel bags again. Over and over. Every time he dies, time resets to the afternoon before the invasion. At first, Cage tries desperately to explain what's happening, to warn people about the ambush, but nobody believes him. He sounds insane. With each loop, he learns a little more, gets a little better at combat, survives a few minutes longer. He tries to save J Squad, tries to save Vertasky, but there are too many mimics. Everyone always dies, including him. In one loop, He manages to survive long enough to tell Vertasky about the time loop. Her reaction surprises him. Instead of disbelief, she immediately understands. Before they both die again, she tells him something crucial. Find me when you wake up. When Cage resets, he realizes Vertasky knows something about what's happening to him. But finding her on the base without dying first proves incredibly difficult. After multiple failed attempts and deaths, he finally manages to slip away from J-Squad and locate her in a training facility. She's surrounded by combat drones, and the elite soldiers around her are hostile to him. When he explains that she told him to find her, she pulls him away to a weapons workshop where her friend Carter works. In a back room, they finally give Cage the explanation he's been desperate for. Vertasky was stuck in a time loop during the Battle of Verdun. That's how she was able to kill hundreds of mimics. She lived through the battle potentially hundreds of times, learning their patterns, perfecting her combat skills until she achieved victory. The loop was triggered by the blood of an alpha mimic, those large blue ones, which gave her the power to reset time when she died. But there's a catch. If the person in the loop receives a human blood transfusion, the power is lost. They exit the loop and will die permanently. That's what happened to Vertasky after Verdun. She was injured and resuscitated with a transfusion, breaking her out of the cycle. She tells Cage he must always ensure he dies completely rather than being saved by medics, or he'll lose his power. Carter, a former researcher who was fired from General Brigham's headquarters, explains his theory. All the mimics are neural projections of one central consciousness called the Omega. If they can find and kill the Omega, they'll win the war. He created a device that can locate the Omega if connected to an alpha, but his superiors thought he was crazy. Vertasky doesn't waste time. If they're going to survive the invasion tomorrow, Cage needs combat training. And she's going to train him the only way that matters, by killing him repeatedly so he can start over and improve each time. The training is brutal. She shoots him when he's injured to reset him. Again and again and again. But it works. Cage becomes an exceptional soldier. Even with all their skills combined, they keep dying on the beach. Loop after loop, Cage watches Vertasky die. He's starting to care about her deeply, and watching her killed over and over takes an emotional toll he wasn't prepared for. During one loop, Cage receives a vision. He sees the Omega hiding in a dam in Germany. Vertasky and Carter believe the visions are part of his alpha blood connection to the mimic hive mind. The Omega and the alphas have the power to manipulate time and perception, and now Cage shares that connection. They shift their strategy, survive the beach, push inland, reach Germany. It takes dozens, maybe hundreds of loops, but they finally succeed in getting off the beach and moving inland toward Germany. During these repeated journeys, Cage and Vertasky bond. He starts taking notes about the things she says, memorizing the details of her life. In one conversation, she mentions that during the Verdun loops, she had someone she loved, someone she had to watch die hundreds of times until the loop finally ended, and he was gone forever. Cage understands that pain now. When they find a helicopter at a farmhouse, Vertasky realizes Cage is acting strange. He's trying to convince her to stay behind while he goes alone. She confronts him, and he admits the truth. They've reached this farmhouse many times already, and every single time, she dies. He's trying to spare her from dying again. She's shocked and furious that he kept this from her. She deliberately gets them both killed, resetting the loop. In the next loop, Cage decides to try going alone, escaping the base without finding Vertasky. But without her, the mission fails catastrophically. The mimics attack London, killing everyone, sending Cage back to the beginning. Cage eventually makes it to the German dam alone, but finds nothing there. He's captured by mimics and has to drown himself to reset. In the following loop, he, Vertasky, and Carter put all the pieces together and realized the horrifying truth. The vision was a trap. The Omega let the humans win at Verdun deliberately to bait them into launching this invasion, where the entire human military would be ambushed and destroyed. It was all a setup from the beginning. With no other options left, they need Carter's device, the one that got him fired, the one that can locate the real Omega. It's in General Brigham's possession. After multiple fatal attempts, they manage to steal the device and stab it into Cage's leg. The vision hits him like lightning. The Omega isn't in Germany at all. It's submerged beneath the Louvre Museum in Paris. They try to escape, but their getaway car crashes. The airbag knocks Vertasky unconscious before she can kill Cage to reset. When Cage wakes up, he's strapped to a hospital gurney, under arrest. Then he realizes something terrible. He's been given a blood transfusion. The loop is broken. If he dies now, he dies permanently. Vertasky breaks them out of custody, but they only have a few hours before the doomed invasion begins. With no more loops to rely on, Cage makes a desperate decision. Return to the base and recruit J-Squad for a suicide mission to Paris. His intimate knowledge of the squad, combined with Vertaski's reputation, convinces them. They steal an aircraft and fly to Paris. When they reach the Louvre, the mimics crash their aircraft. The firefight is brutal. Half of J-Squad dies immediately. Cage, Vertaski, and the 3 surviving squad members decide to use their remaining engine power to crash the aircraft into the Louvre, then detonate grenades to kill the Omega. The remaining squad members sacrifice themselves to make the crash possible. Cage and Vertaski make it inside the museum. The Omega is submerged in water at the bottom of the building, protected by an Alpha. Vertaski tells Cage she'll distract the Alpha while he gets to the Omega and detonates the grenades. Neither of them will survive. Before they separate, they kiss. Vertaski tells him she wishes they'd had more time to get to know each other. Then she runs toward the Alpha. Cage dives underwater, swimming toward the Omega with a belt of grenades. The Alpha kills Vertaski. Then the Omega senses Cage and sends the Alpha after him. As Cage reaches the Omega, the Alpha stabs him through the back. With his last strength, Cage pulls all the grenade pins and drops the belt into the Omega. The Omega explodes. All the mimics around the world die instantly, their hive mind severed. As Cage bleeds out, dying, the Omega's blood seeps into his wounds, mixing with his own. Then everything goes black. Cage wakes up with a gasp. He's on the helicopter to London. But something's different. It's the morning before the invasion, earlier than his loop ever reset to before. He lands and sees news broadcasts reporting mysterious explosions in Paris. The mimics have all died. The war is over. Humanity won. Cage arrives at the base in uniform, restored to his rank of major. Everyone treats him with respect. He sees the members of J-Squad alive and well, laughing and joking, completely unaware they were heroes who saved the world in another timeline. Then Cage goes to find Vertaski. She's in the training facility, surrounded by drones, exactly where he first found her in the loops. But this version of her has never met him. She has no memory of their journey together, of the countless times they fought and died side by side, of their final kiss before certain death. When she sees him approaching, she greets him with the same cold, dismissive attitude she had when they first met. She has no idea who he really is to her,